What's happening, Tube Nation? What's going on? So, one of my vlogs was not well received by certain individuals, and they felt like I called folk out, and then certain special individuals to me saw the vlog, didn't like it, didn't like the way it came off, so I deleted that one. This is the replacement, vlog 29. Learn to trust your parenting. So, my oldest son was basically tested, and according to his testing, he was intellectually disabled, which is the newest term coined by the Obama administration. The original term, the term before that rather, was mental retardation. So now it's intellectual disability. So this whole fiasco was merely my son just being stubborn. There was nothing wrong with him. There's nothing wrong with the boy at all. In fact, he's speaking quite well now, and his sentence structure is getting so much better. But let's talk about how it's led to it now. My spouse and I, we did something. We had our issues, and there was separation between us, which didn't help. He was young age. It didn't. His brother came along, which didn't help him. His brother's 15 months behind, and that kind of pushed him into a withdrawn state where he wouldn't speak. He just kind of look at you uh, at first glance, or even in a long-term situation, that could make one perceive that something is wrong, especially when at a certain age they speak in a certain type of way, or they've already started speaking and then all of a sudden it just stops. It makes you wonder. So I can understand that. I can understand they're being concerned. You know, I'm a parent as well. This my son. I'm not a part-time dad, but from the get-go, I never believed he needed any speech therapy or he needed special education. Not because I'm jaded or I'm one of those parents. Oh, now my son, ain't nothing wrong with him. This and other. It's more of a that boy's just stubborn. No, I know my son ain't nothing wrong with him. So just kind of make this long story short, he gets the speech therapy, which helped a little bit because he didn't want to talk to people. He didn't really know them, but he did warm up to one. Then he had a new speech therapist because the young lady had to move. Yada yada yada. One now, he's labeled intellectually disabled. So when it's time to go to school, of course he's placed in special education. And I was very, very apprehensive about that whole situation. Once again, let me put what I didn't do right. I should have kept my foot down and said no. He never needs to go there. He doesn't need this. We just gotta spend more time with him. He'll come out of it in time. I just kind of went along after a while, and someone else who was close to me, whose opinion or value, said, "Well, what if?" And I gave into the what if when I should have said, "Nah, ain't nothing wrong with him. Rock on. He gonna come out of it." So I came. The what if was thrown out there. I sat and I thought about it. And I didn't want to be like the shitty dad that was wouldn't get his son tested, this, that, and other. And now we fast forward to the future, and now he's in special ed classes. He's forced to kind of into some redundancy as far as certain things. Pull up because he don't like public restrooms, which I understand it. Because there's a lot of grown men that don't want to aim in the toilet, man. Like y'all piss over everything but the toilet. Y'all miss it. It's a big white bowl. Or maybe sometimes got a black seat on it or a white seat. But you hit everything but the toilet bowl, like, man, where the water's at. But I digress. And so pull up on because you use the restroom yourself. Eventually you gotta go. You're gonna use the restroom. Alright, okay, I understand that. But of course, from what I perceived, what I saw, he wasn't learning anything. He wasn't advancing. To me, he was actually, and I don't mean this to try to be derogatory, he was retarding as far as his abilities. Like he was slowing down, he was reverting backwards, not necessarily because he wanted to, because he was surrounded by students who may really be intellectually disabled, or some may have been physically disabled. And I'm not trying to, take a shot at anybody's kid or talk about down on anybody's kids, but because there are children who are intellectually or physically disabled, and there's nothing they can do about it. That's the hand that they were dealt. Um, a peace and blessings to those parents, because you're a real trooper, hanging in there and doing what a real parent is, still loving your child despite the hurdles that they're having to go through. Shout out to you. But he wasn't progressing like, you think I'm going to put him in a class where he get this attention and there'll be an acceleration. It wasn't. And then we had to go through rigmarole of the truancy officer because he had missed so many days. He was sick. He had a rash in a particularly sensitive area where he couldn't go to class, but the doctor's note didn't specify that he needed to stay for so many days at the house until it healed, and it was just all that craziness that went on. And my wife, she going through it, and she started kind of having a headache about it, which, I'm going to let you know, ladies, like once you get into certain aspects of public education, especially special education, it can get really, really crazy, really hectic, real fast, and be a headache. Fellas, it's no exception to you as well, because real spill, if you go to that school by yourself, with male or female, and you have an interaction with the teacher, and the teacher makes it come off as like you yelling at them or you were threatening them, they can have you legally restraining order put to you where you can't come to the campus anymore. Yes, that's your child. Yes, your child's on that campus, but they can legally have you restrained from that campus where you are not allowed on that campus anymore. Play with it if you want to. These folks got power. Once they get a hold of your kid and your kids in the public system, they have a little bit of power and a little bit of reign over your child. So you got to be careful when you're dealing with the public school system, especially in special education, because special education does bring in more income for the school to operate than typically advancing peers. That's the politically correct term I have to learn. So I said that all that to say this is make sure you get thorough testing before you just go along with they're intellectually disabled or they're emotionally disturbed or whatnot, because once your child get in there, it could be like pulling teeth to get them out, especially being a single parent. If you're a single parent, I'm blessed, me and my wife were together. A lot of my mothers, y'all rocking this solo dolo. You know what I'm saying? Fellas, a lot of you fellas, you know what I'm saying, y'all trash because y'all ain't there for your child. But there's some women, and I'm going to say there's some women who, if you don't want to be with them, they're like, oh, well, if you ain't with me, you can't be with your son, or you be there for your daughter. And the mothers who are like that, you trash too. You trash times two, because you are forcing their child to grow without their father, and you're more than likely lying to them and saying, oh, your dad didn't want to be in your life, this, that, and other, when later on they're going to find out you're lying, and that's not the truth. But that's alright, they catch up to you. You know what I'm saying? Either way it go, fellas, you have to make a baby, you ain't taking care of him, it's going to catch up to you. Don't miss what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying? It's going to catch up to you. But another thing real quick while I'm rambling on is when it comes to such education, depends on and I hate to say it, the label that is attached to your child. They may recommend medication, and typically it's going to be something like Concerta or and Adderall. I had to think about the name. Here's the problem with those two. If you go to the DEA's website, the Drug Enforcement Agency's website, and you go to, and you would say go DEA drug schedule, you get a list that you can download, a PDF list of the drug schedule, all the drugs, whether they're sold in pharmacies or not, and their schedule or their ranking on how potent they are as far as how addicted or how easily someone can become addicted to it. And if you look at Adderall, it's a Schedule II drug, just like Concerta, which is really called methylphenidate. Those are Schedule II drugs, which means they're pretty potent, they're pretty strong. And you're probably thinking, no, it's not. They can be sold over the counter. Well, that's on DEA's scheduling list. That's how they schedule it. You'll have, let's say, CSA, which is Controlled Substance Act, and then next to it you have SCH, which is short for schedule, and you have a list that goes up and down and have Roman number 1 or 2 or Roman number 3. So you gotta be careful because these drugs are just as potent as cocaine. Cocaine is a Schedule II drug. Yes, it is. I listened to Dr. Moore say it. And I did my own research. It is a Schedule II drug. Opium, yes, heroin is a Schedule II drug. All forms of opium is a Schedule II drug. It's very potent, quite easy to become addicted to. And you put your child in a special ed program because you have to allow them to do that. They can't just put your child in there. You have to allow them. They can put your child on one of these psychoactive drugs, and that's going to greatly adversely affect their lives. And some people may say, well, no, child needs that, this, that, and another. Well, child needs a balanced home. You really want to combat a lot of these issues with children and alleged ADHD and fidgeting and wants to down. You need that two-parent home where you got that masculine energy that has that serious discipline behind it. And then, the feminine energy, to help explain it. Like, yeah, you're not going to do this, but this is why. So that balance, that's it, good people, you know what I'm saying? If anybody feel like I threw them under the bus or whatever, whatnot, no. This wasn't to necessarily throw anybody under the bus and make any particular group feel bad. But for those who are in a relationship, let me say this as a more of a reminder or a lesson to say, okay, wives, consider your husband's opinion. Your husband's going to consider your wife's opinion. Okay, if we do this, what could the problems be? What issues could we run up in? Because once you let these folks into your life, all this testing, this and another, something don't go right, they can easily call CPS. And once CPS get in your life, it's hard to get rid of them. They're like roaches, man. I ain't trying to call nobody they look like a roach or they act like a roach, but once person, I know everybody know that one nasty person, and once when you go to their house, you be trying not to sit down nothing because they got roaches no matter what they do. That's what it's like when you get that CPS in your life, man, because you're doing whatever and whatnot, dealing with the public school system and things. It's a joke. I think these folks ain't got no power to turn your life upside down. And I ain't saying to make it a horror story. I'm just saying you be informed at all times with all decisions you make, because once you get into that situation, that arena, and you get before the judge is gonna say, ignorance of the law. That's the way to say it. Ignorance of the law. Something. Basically, ignorance of the law doesn't mean nothing. All because you didn't know it, the judge don't care. That's your fault. That's what they're gonna say. But this is not my oldest. This is my youngest son. You hear my voice. So, you know how we do. You know what time it is, man. I didn't want to run too long. I think I'm over 10 minutes now. Yeah, 13 minutes. So, peace and blessings, good people. I'll say.